Hi, and welcome to another episode of Nursing Your Way to Wealth, where a mental health nurse and an accountant talk about wealth creation, personal development, and financial independence in the UK to help you live the life you deserve. Hello, and welcome back. This is episode 35 of Nursing Your Way to Wealth. You have both Alexes here again. This episode has been born from a listener question which is quite exciting for both of us. And it's around finances for newborn children, finances around being parents. And it intrigued us both so much that we thought actually we'll dedicate an episode to it. So this is from Phoebe. And Phoebe says she's just had a baby. So firstly, congrats. I'm looking at opening a junior cash ISA in brackets 4%. A friend has said that opening a premium bond account would be more fruitful. What are your thoughts? So this sounds like it's some relatively new parents. There's not an age kind of given here for the kid, but it's new parents trying to set up a good kind of path for their young one. They've looked into a junior cash ISA. It doesn't say whether it's stocks and shares or not. And also, someone has come along and said what premium bonds might be a better idea. So, Alex and I are going to discuss kind of the pros and cons of both, and also kind of different things that are available to new parents as well. So, Alex, firstly, thoughts on junior cash ISAs and premium bonds for newborns?
Yeah, and hi Alex, and hi everybody, and thanks for the good question. And I think just taking a step back on the topic of, I guess, your finances and trying to set up your kids for the right future. Usually you don't really start as an adult investing or saving until you're kind of after university. So and then kind of got established in a job. So all that time in between, there is such a lot of time and to to lay a really good financial foundation. And because there's so much time, it's a time to take a bit more risk than perhaps um, you would do as an adult yourself. And so for me, when you're thinking of, so when we're looking at if your kid's just being born, you've got 18 years till that, the child goes to university or goes out into the workplace, and you've probably got realistically 65 years before a retirement. So you've got quite a lot of, and time is the friend of investment. And so for me, it's about, my opinion wouldn't be to go into cash. It would be to now's the time to take a bit of risk and start to use a stocks and shares ISA. And they're excellent for children. You can put in £9,000 a year into a child junior ISA, and that can be stocks and shares ISA and allow you to get some money invested for your on behalf of your child nice and early, and give it, you've got 18 years of growth in that tax wrapper, all dividends, all capital gains, completely tax free. And that is a really good launch pad then for your child at 18. So that's kind of my initial reaction when I hear about, oh, cash for my for my newborn when they're not going to need it for 2 decades. It's like, don't go cash.
Exactly. I mean, that's my thoughts as well. As soon as I read this question, I just said, actually, cash is not your friend here at all. Like stacking cash from birthdays, Christmases, whatever, what your friends give you for your newborn, putting it in an envelope on a bookshelf is really not the thing to be doing. So if we think about, like Alex, you said earlier, when people mostly start to invest after they've probably been to uni, they've got qualified, done an apprenticeship in something, they've got some disposable income, and they're starting to think about their long term financial future. That you can be at least, I don't know, 22, 23, 25, sometimes up to 30 by that point. And what we're talking about here is a 30-year runway of having compound growth working for you. And we know that time is massively on your side in terms of compounding. The longer you can invest money for and leave it alone, the wealthier whoever you're investing for can be. In this case, someone who's quite young, I'm probably less than a year old. So even if you take that at 29-year runway, the growth here is going to be absolutely massive. And we're talking amounts that could put your child through university debt free, could buy them a car, could pay for driving lessons, and contribute to a house deposit. And it's really that powerful. So, firstly, our first answer is forget cash, and let's use the time you have wisely. Use the tools available, so a stocks and shares like a junior ISA, and contribute. I mean, really, whatever you can. If you can do a monthly amount, do that. If you get some cash given to you by grandparents, aunts and uncles, siblings, godparents for when you've had a newborn, which is possible, you can do something really powerful with that as well. So, say, Alex, in this scenario, we've got two parents with a young born, and they're thinking about these things. Is the first port of call to set up a junior ISA and fill it?
I mean, that would be what I would do. I think there's,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just to maybe just to add some color to the type of numbers we're talking about. So we had a bit of a play just before we started recording, but I think it was that child benefit. So everybody gets child benefit for the first child. It works out it's just under £111 a month. And if you were to use that child benefit and put it straight into a junior ISA, for the 18 years that the child is, for an 18-year time horizon, and then getting an interest rate of around 6%, which is very reasonable when it comes to like global equities. The future value of that, you're looking at around about £43,000, and that and that's kind of more in today's money. So I've taken off a couple of percent in the interest rate for inflation. So that's kind of the amount of money to start with, is about 43,000.
And that's, sorry, just correct me if I'm wrong here. That's if you have one child, right, and you're getting kind of the child benefit, which currently is £25.60 per week. And we're expecting that to increase over time with inflation anyway. But that's investing that small amount per month, or you can even do it per week if you want. As soon as you get it, you can sock it away inside that tax sheltered ISA for your child. And if you leave it 18 years, it turns into £43,000.
That's right, yeah. And so,
Mental.
and you will within that scenario have contributed just under £24,000. So you'll have
Hmm.
had about £19,000 worth of growth
Nearly doubling.
throughout that. Yeah, so call it double.
Yeah.
And if you think over the long term, cash, even though now it's, we're coming out of um, the the COVID pandemic and the recession and the war, and we're trying to put, rates have been quite high. So cash at the minute looks quite attractive, but in the long
Hmm.
term, cash tends to just match inflation, if not be slightly below inflation. So essentially, your money wouldn't really grow in real terms. And so that's why I'd be so kind of averse to cash when it comes to the long term. Um, even so, that's like your child benefit that you would get. But say if you could, invest same time horizon, 18 years at 6%, and put in £150 a month, that turns into £58,000. If you could find £250 a month, you're on nearly £97,000. And if you were incredibly well paid and you could find £500 a month, that's nearly £194,000 that the child would have as an 18-year-old. So obviously a wide range of scenarios, but it's more just to emphasize the point of get going early and invest in it. You've got, and worst case, like everything is lost and you start at nil, you'd be the same. Your child is in the same position as probably 95% of all the other children who graduate at 18 from high school and start on their investment journey.
Yeah, those numbers seem crazy high, don't they? So, like, you imagine just being able to gift your kid that much money and saying, actually, it's not just a blow, like, don't go buying like supercars or whatever at 18, etc. But what this could mean for your life is you'll go through university wherever you want to go. You're even looking at possibly abroad universities here and getting a full paid for ride without coming out with loads of student debt, which we know is a graduate tax. Like, I'm still paying mine off at 150 something pounds a month now, and I'll probably have it until it expires, to be honest. So what this does is not only give them a big chunk of money to start their life with, which we know, being a millennial, being a Gen kind of Z, etc. person into the world of work now, it's harder than it's ever been. I can't see that getting way easier over the next 18 years or kind of 15, 16 years, whatever, however old your child is. So being able to do that is humongous for your child. I mean, I didn't have anything like that. Alex, I don't believe you had anything like that either.
No, it was yeah. I had some cash saved over my mum did actually save some of the child benefit, and
Hmm.
I got some help with driving lessons and to fund towards a car. But it's that thing of my parents weren't well paid by any means. Certainly not when I was a young when I was really young. And it's the thing of like the cash versus investing. The investing means you don't then have to, as a parent, you don't have to work. If you wanted to gift your kid that amount of money, you're not having to work because the money's done the work for you. And like in that the child benefit example, you're like £19,000 of investment growth. That's years and years of saving potentially.
Well, imagine having to save 19, nearly £20,000 and paying tax and national insurance on it. Instantly, it's 20% higher that you've had to earn and work every hour for. And I was just thinking, like, this is obviously an idyllic scenario that you don't need the child benefit and you can afford to put that away. But say you start doing this when your kid goes to school, when they're 4, and you have 14 years at that point. And Alex, I'm not going to ask you to do that maths in your head, but 14 years of compounding is better than 10 years, and that's better than 5 years, and it's better than no years. So anything you can put away for the long term and continually invest that money each week or each month and know that you're setting your kid up for as good a financial future as you can possibly do. That is beyond what I think 95+% of the population will be able and or even have the knowledge to do, because getting questions like this means it's not easy to know, it's not easy to learn, it takes a bit of extra time. And I do wonder whether when we've written back to Phoebe and put some of these notes down, whether any of them will even get actioned, because there's knowledge and then there's action, and they're two very different things.
Yeah, that's it. And I think one kind of parents can often be a bit there's some trepidation, I don't know the right word, but around doing this because it's like, well, ultimately you're opening up a junior ISA in the name of your child. At 18, that is legally their money.
Yeah, and they can do what they want with it.
Exactly. And often it is people are a bit of nervous because it's along the lines of, what if my child it doesn't turn out the way I want them to, and then they're suddenly going to have 20, £30,000 in a bank account that they can access and do whatever they want with as a legal 18-year-old adult. Um, and I think that my response to that is always just around, and it's trying to ingrain and instill good financial behavior for in your children like throughout their childhood. So it's kind of, are you linking getting financial reward with doing work? So it could be, washing the pots a few nights a week, or washing the car to get some things, or tidying the bedroom to get a bit of pocket money. Almost creating that link of reward with work. And also, if they start to go and get jobs, 15, 16 years old, encouraging that savings behavior that you're automatically going to be saving 10, 15% of whatever you take home into your either your ISA if you've told them about that, or into a cash account or something else. But it's more just it's the behavior that's important. And I think to your point around it's the action which is important. 100%. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't do anything with it, then it's pointless.
Yeah, it's useless. So I think even if say things are difficult, and we're in no way saying that growing and like teaching a child, nurturing a child is an easy task at all. So even if you can do a small percentage of some of these things, if you can put away half the child benefit, 10% of it, something per month, it's going to make a meaningful difference. And it's something that if you can automate it, it makes it easier. So it doesn't then, you don't have to make a decision. So when you get paid your £25 whatever a week, 25.60 a week, if you have that in your pocket and you have to say, oh, actually, what am I going to do with this? Am I going to buy groceries? Am I going to buy this lovely, cute outfit I saw in the shop? Am I going to buy, I don't know, a new fire truck or whatever for your kid? Or shall I invest it for them to have in 18 years' time? The decision to give them the money in 18 years is a long, long way away. It's not instant gratification. And especially if your kid's like, oh, I want the train set, buy me the train set. And it's difficult, but it's the long term payoff is huge. So me, when I got to 18, I couldn't tell you whether my mum bought me or dad bought me the train set that I wanted when I was two. I've got no memory of that whatsoever. What I would have had a huge memory of as I now have the money to set myself up for adult life and not have to go into debt for things. And it's certainly a long, long game.
It is. I mean, as one, I have a slight parallel where I saw somebody quite young get a lot of money. Was one of my friends from school was he randomly bought a lottery ticket as part of a syndicate um, to go to a local pub, and it was their last night of the landlord and landlady, and they all just did as a bit of a joke, buy a lottery ticket. And as a 17-year-old, he got just over £30,000, and he ended up, yeah, all that money went very quickly, and it was the point of and that kind of money you would end up potentially having, your child would potentially have that, which I think is why it's really important to set discipline and ground rules with how to manage money like throughout a child's life. So then if anything like that does happen, and you'd be setting your, even just if you were to invest the child benefit amount, you're kind of talking that level of money, and it's about educating on, you know, what you can do with it. And I think there's things such as, you could make ultimately the child doesn't know that they have that money. You have to tell them as a parent that it's theirs, and you could delay doing that, or you could make it conditional on you put that money towards buying a house for them or something like that. So then so like once they're set up in kind of established in a job or something, then at least it's that money is then locked away in a way. If you're concerned that your child might squander the money on um, designer clothes and fancy tables at nightclubs or something.
Yeah, maybe they're popping bottles with their friends and everything goes through their own bank account or something silly. But I mean, it's possible. I'm just thinking maybe if they do have that amount of money and you say you can gift them 40 something thousand pounds when you get to that kind of stage, do you think is worth, I don't know, taking 10%, taking 4 grand, 4,300, something like that, and saying, you look, just blow this, get out your system, go on a holiday with your mates, do whatever you want to do with it, but learn a lesson from it, and we'll use the other 90% for wealth building, life behaviors, and things like that. And I just another thing about the your pal's story of winning that money. There was a story of I think he was a refuse collector or a bin man or something. He won
Yes.
like a monstrous amount of money. I think his name was Michael something,
Yes, it is Michael's. Oh, yeah, yeah.
and he basically spent all of it having a fantastic time with all of his mates, and I think he was back to broke within a couple of years' time. And we're talking generation changing money, tens of millions of pounds here.
Yeah, I think it was just over 10 million quid, wasn't it? And
Yeah, and didn't have any of that financial education or knowledge, and just had an unlimited to him amount of money, and eventually it's going to run out, and then you're back to square one.
exactly.
It could have set every generation of his kind of descendants up
Oh, yeah.
beautifully.
Incredible money. Yeah, Michael Carroll was the guy's name.
Ah, okay. Or you can waste it. And that's the thing, isn't it? And I would argue most people don't have a well-rounded financial knowledge because it's not taught. You have to teach it. You have to learn it yourself, and it's something that can do so much good for yourself, for your family, for generations to come. And you can really use it as a power for good. And I kind of wish he made different choices. I have no idea who the guy is, but I wonder if he regrets it.
Yeah, I think there is some regret. But I like the idea of maybe taking a bit of that windfall and almost, yeah, as you said, get it out of your system, do what you will with it, knowing it isn't in the grand scheme of things won't be so detrimental to your financial well-being in the future. But yeah, I think that's a really good compromise.
Yeah, and hopefully they'll learn from it, I think. I mean, that's basically what you can do with some child benefit, which in the UK you're going to get anyway. Just a couple of other thoughts. I mean, ask your firstly your employer is going to come into play here. Ask them whether there's any financial not reward or bonus. It sounds a bit weird for a bonus for having a kid, but um, certainly for the charity I work for, that there's a £200 payment for all new parents, and it's just an automatic one-off thing. Here you are, like best of luck, hope it helps, etc. So, see if that's available. Speak to your employer and work out what leave and pay you're entitled to in advance. So you get, in most cases, 8 9 months notice of having a kid. So work out where you're actually going to be, what changes you need to make. Do you need to start putting away a little bit more money now to prepare for that time? Because it's I mean, I'm not a parent myself yet, but it's certainly a time in your life where things are a little bit difficult, things are upside down, your hairs start going grey, and you're sleep deprived, etc. So if you can remove money as a worry at that point and kind of have a broad handle on it, I think it can only make things easier easier in that kind of stead. Is there anything else, Alex, you can think about in terms of when your kid gets to 18, how we can make that easier for people?
No, I think we've covered. I think yeah, I think we've covered what both of us would do and which would have happened for us. I think.
Yeah, I hope so. And I think as well, one last thing before we move on to like pensions for kids and stuff, but I'm a big advocate of like splitting decisions. So say, for example, when you have I don't know, you have your young baby or whatever, and some of your family members they give you a combined total of £200, say, or any figure. It doesn't matter what the figure is. Use and you're not sure what to do with it. You're thinking about saving it, thinking about investing it. I would say if you're unsure, invest half and spend half. It's always better to do something wealth building with half the money you have than with none of the money you have. So I think a 50-50 split is always a good kind of get out of jail card if you're not really sure what to do with it. I mean, if you're totally flush with cash and you're not bothered, yeah, that it's not going to make a difference. Or invest a lot for sure. But if you need some of it, you want to keep a bit of it by because it settles a bit of overwhelm. You're kind of reducing some anxiety here in a really really difficult time in life, then do that as well. It's doing what you can to kind of get through day by day at that point, but also having half an eye on long term because days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, months turns into years, and before you know it, you're 36, and yeah, here you are. So yeah, Alex, any other thoughts, or should we move to pensions?
Yeah, I think we can move on, but I think that's a nice sentiment of it isn't a binary decision on these things. There is no like right or wrong. I think it's always, yeah, if you can put some money towards wealth building activity, then that's always going to be a good thing. It is always deferred gratification. It never feels as good as, like buying something new or whatever, but it's long term and proper. And yeah, splitting the decision is, yeah, I think in inertia is definitely the right thing. And I think it's a good advice.
Yeah, one other thought I've had before we move to pensions for kids, which seems a little bit long, but the amount of marketing that new parents get that you must have new this, must have new that. The only thing I would argue you need brand new as a parent is a mattress for your child. That's it from a kind of medical nursing point of view. New mattress all round, good idea. The rest of it doesn't need to be brand new. So I've got other friends who have spent obscene amounts of money on prams and car seats, and we're talking £1,500 plus. And it becomes another monthly payment. And I shudder to think about the interest rate they're paying extra for that because they kind of believe that they need to have something new. Whereas you do need some stuff new, and I would advocate car seats just to avoid like so they've not been in a crash or whatever, and a cot of course for hygiene, but even like a stroller or a pram, no, you don't. Like some people, you use them for well until your kid walks a year, 2 years, perhaps something like that, and you can get a lot of really good condition stuff secondhand. So really look locally for secondhand stuff. If you're fortunate enough to have friends who are having children around that time, you can borrow stuff, you can clothes swap, you can ask them what they actually needed and what they actually used whilst bringing their kids up, because you're not going to need, I don't know, a stand for your glove whilst you're changing a baby, but it'll be marketed like you absolutely need it and you're a terrible parent if you don't buy it. But you really, really don't need them. If your kid is happy, clothed, warm, fed, you're doing enough. Yeah, that's a soapbox thing about marketing for to kind of new parents, but
Yeah, I think that's really sensible.
you can spend obscene amounts, can't you,
Oh yeah.
on stuff, and it gets really lightly used. Kids grow at alarming rates. No point buying your kid, I don't know, a designer Gucci onesie to have it vomited on day two,
Oh
and
yeah. I love that when
it's
you see like the tiny like Nike Air Maxes and stuff.
yeah,
It's like
right, and
it's
then
like that.
90 quid for a pair of shoes that your kid's going to wear for about a week.
Yeah, I just find it quite. I mean, it's the tax on stupid is how I think of
Yeah,
that.
I just think like if you buy them, they probably don't even like wearing shoes or need them at that point, but just take that money and invest it, and you can turn that into a huge amount of money. I mean, I did another little bit of maths, and admittedly, my interest rate here was 8% as a general stock market return. But for every £1, this is a segue into pensions, right? But every £1 you put in at birth, when they get to 60, will turn into £119. So every pound you don't spend on designer Nike Air Maxes for your kid, you put that into your pension, that's worth an obscene amount of money to them. So yeah, us move to pensions. Junior SIPs, go. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. In general, as a society, people don't save enough for their retirement, and I think that
Agreed.
will only become more and more evident as over the next few years as state retirement age increases and people really realize how much they need to be to be saving. And I think starting it might sound absolutely completely extreme, but saving on the kind of the same logic as before around with the ISA and you've got a nice runway of time. If you think for, realistically, if you have your child, it's going to be 60 years probably before they're going to be retiring. That is a lovely runway in terms of investments. And even
Huge.
even just putting in a few a couple of lump sums of literally a few £1,000s can over that time period grow into, I mean, I think Alex, you got some figures, but it's almost like you can almost take care of your kids' retirement for a few £1,000s and give them multiple tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds. Well, really, then that's a really realistic outcome. And then what you do is then you take a lot of pressure then off your child's future. And I guess one rebuttal could be, oh, but my kid is going to inherit my house, and therefore that's their retirement plan for them. But you can never count on that kind of money. You don't know what if you're going to need it for your own retirement, if you're going to need specialist healthcare. So for me, I think it's a good idea, especially if you've got um, a little bit of spare money, whether that be from parents of your own or grandparents giving them a bit of money. You can really set your kid up for the future, for its retirement. And even though it sounds bonkers to be talking about pensions, it's a really effective way of doing it. And in terms of allowances, so as of this tax year, 24-25, the most you can put into a junior SIP is £3,600. But the government, as a reward for saving, actually give you tax relief for 20%. So you'd only have to put in, it's £2,880 is what you'd have to contribute to then get £3,600 worth of pension for your child. And that in itself, if you were to just do that once, so you get £3,600 and 6% interest over 60 years, you'll have about just under £119,000. So it's a huge amount of that's compound interest working at its finest. And you've then given your child £100,000 to in their pension pot, effectively.
That's crazy, isn't it? It's such a huge amount from so little. You
Hmm.
just put it in the right place at the right time. You invest it wisely, and then you just wait. You literally leave it be, and it might be that your kid does fantastically well, and they've got all their stuff sorted out, and they just have this extra cash. Then, I mean, they can then utilize it to give to their children, like your grandchildren, all the way down the lines. That can become generational wealth because someone somewhere learned a thing and they took some action on it, and it's changed a generation's life. It could be the difference between like going to university or not, coming out of university debt free. We're even talking perhaps private schooling for kids in the future based on behaviors that we do and we instill today, which is crazy. And the fact that you're getting tax relief on money that you haven't paid tax on, that your kid hasn't worked and paid tax on because it can't work because it's too young, is literally free money from the government. So I would say to anyone, really take advantage of like junior SIPs. And SIP is SIPP, it's self-invested private pension. You can set one of these up for your kid on day one when it's born. It's certainly something I will do when the time comes for me. But just some additional figures on that. I mean, I'm dubious, Alex, whether you and I will get access to the state pension by the time we get there. I'd really question whether the
Hmm.
next generation will have as good a access, and it's not means tested.
Yeah.
We know the government can't afford it right now. Less people are being born, so it just stands to compound the problem in a negative way. That means I think the state pension will be out of reach for some people, and they'll just pull the drawbridge up, and people won't have access to it.
Yeah, agree. I mean, it's definitely not in any of my calculations. And I mean, I read avidly on this stuff. And when you read almost like textbook style books on planning for retirement, most of them are like basically take care of your own retirement. Don't assume it's going to be there. And it's like, if it is there, brilliant. It's like, it's all gravy and go and fly business class instead of economy.
Yeah, do
But
it.
but don't your retirement plan cannot be I'll get the state pension when I turn 67 or 75 or whatever it's going to be when 30 years time.
Yeah, it can get changed.
That's the other
Apparently,
thing. Yeah.
on the whim of a government, right? That can change. The age can change. It will take a brave government to means test the pension, to the state pension, but at some point, I cannot see it not happening. I think they'll have to form a coalition across all governments and look at it because it's bankrupting the country over time. So I too I don't feature it in mine and my wife's kind of projections into the future. If I get it, it's a bonus, and I'll just use that money for good things. I don't know, maybe donate to a food bank or whatever, but just do something useful with it to help other people. At the same time, I've done some more kind of pension maths here. So if, for example, you were to put in £1,000 when your baby is born into a pension at 6%, at 60 years old, that £1,000 has turned into 36,000. If you put £2,000 in, same scenario, 6%, you put it in at birth, you get some gifts from your relatives, you scrape a bit, you put some extra money in, it's worth £72,000 when they're 60. If you put 5 grand in, at 60, it's worth £181,000. And just to flesh this a little bit, the average pension pot currently in the UK for someone who is 60, for men, it's £228,000. And for ladies or women, it's 152. That's quite a big gap in between. And I talked to Laura Pomfret from Financiel about kind of gender pay and pensions in our last episode, which is episode 34. So if you want to deep dive on that, or maybe you've already heard it, if you have, thank you. But being able to give them nearly a full pension pot average by the time they get there through your own effort, and they don't have to do any of that work, is a humongous lead. Like I've been very open about it. I am woefully behind on my pension contributions. I'm putting in a lot more than the standard minimums for my salary because I'm just so far behind. If when I got to 18, my mum and dad were like, hey, we've started a pension for you. There's currently this much money in it. And obviously, it wouldn't be massive and massive. It would just be a pot protected until I'm pension age. This is yours now. this is how we've built it. Continue paying a small amount of your salary into your pension. And I know that in my heart and soul that you'll be financially well off in the future, means that A, it takes a weight off of me. It would take a weight off me right now. I don't have to think about contributing more than the minimums. In some cases, you might be able to opt out totally and just leave that compound over time. I mean, what would that be? Coast retirement from parents.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah, it's very much that you can. It's not dissimilar to like Coast Fi, and that you've almost you build up your head of steam, and then it works for you in the background, and so then you can maybe take a bit, have slightly more different life choices, or take different career, or experiment more with careers. And I think as with all these things, it opens up flexibility and options, which is the valuable thing. But yeah, imagine your parents have basically retired
Yeah,
you,
basically, right. So
and that's a real option. Like, it
it's
is
doable. It's 100%
really
doable. So,
doable.
Phoebe, if you are listening, all of these things are doable. You don't have to earn hundreds of thousands of pounds a year at all. Like Alex and I are definitely going to do this for our children one day. Sounds weird, Alex, not yours and mine. We're not going to adopt kids together and live on a boat or whatever. But
Yeah,
it's it's really doable. And say, like I've given some examples earlier of if you have £1,000, if you have two, if you have five, etc. I fully get that those amounts seem huge, and if you don't, and the other option for you is to put some money in monthly. If you were to put £30 in per month to a pension for your kid, by the time they reach age 60, and this is an average of 6% return per year, as Alex has suggested, is a real rate of return, it would be worth £212,000 when you get there, which is right in between kind of the current average. It's a humongous start. And all you'd say at that point, when your kid got to 18, you either continue to contribute for that if you can afford to, or get them to put that money in out of their salary. And it gives them a second pension on top of their employer's pension too. And it's just another thing that churns in the background, because where people like the youth of today, me included, we hop from job to job. You get a bit of a pension here, a bit of a pension there, and you have small pots everywhere. Having a personal pension, a SIP, running alongside that you contribute a little bit to each time, and you know that it will sort you out in retirement. Again, it takes some overwhelm, some anxiety off of those people, that the kid, for that time frame. And they're huge gifts, and it's something that keeps giving and giving over time. And then you're into the realm here of you've learned this stuff. You teach your kid that, it gets taught to your grandchildren, and it gets taught all the way down the generations. And before you know it, we're talking generational wealth and um, life on easy mode, because people can draw from this pot. I mean, one of my main things to do in life is to set up a trust for every generation that comes after me. And the idea between that is for them to be able to take money out for education and housing deposits, and being able to know that I've helped set something up like that. And it's the idea is it continues through generations. I don't know if it actually will, but I like to think that that's something that is very doable. And at some point in kind of 2, 3, 4 generations gone, when I'm no longer around, that your great 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 granddad Alex at some point 2024 had this idea, and now that pot of money has enabled your great 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 grandchildren to pick whatever uni they want to go to and come out debt free.
Yeah, I think that's really so admirable. And yeah,
It's huge and
yeah,
it's doable.
and I think as well, just if people aren't like doing a pension, if people are a bit nervous about um, their child not being ready at 18 with an ISA, but they would definitely be mature by the time they can access a pension. So
Yeah, and they'll have seen the compounding growth.
yes,
And the way to teach people this is, yes, to talk about it, yes, to evidence it, to flesh it with some figures, but to show it that it works. You show the evidence that these things can work, and they have worked, because the people you're trying to teach in the long term, your kind of distant family members, they will be the direct recipients of money like this. And it can be life changing.
yeah, completely agree. I think it's a great. I see it as a really good opportunity. as a
It's
new
huge.
parent.
Do you think we've answered Phoebe's question?
I hope so.
Yeah, same.
If not, then please write back again, and we can try again.
Yeah, we'll try again, take two, and
Yeah,
hopefully we've not missed something fundamental within that question. So yeah, hopefully, guys, this has been helpful. So if you are having a new child at some point, and you're expecting, first, congrats. Second, practice a little bit of what we've discussed here. If you need any further clarification, do email us. Happy to chat you through any of our thoughts. If you think you can do differently or better, let us know. We can learn from you as well. And all of that email wise just goes through to our nursingyourwaytowealth@gmail.com email address, which Alex and I monitor. I feel like we've covered a lot in terms of finances, and I just want to take a moment to reflect on life and bringing up a child. It is a really, really difficult thing to do. So if you are struggling financially with things, do reach out to kind of family, friends, food banks, churches, and anything like that. If you do need extra help, please don't be ashamed of it. It's a humongous thing to go through as parents. It changes you, kind of your physiology, your biology. It's like they call it the miracle of life because it's a bit crazy how all of that works. So give yourself a bit of a gap. You're doing like incredibly well without knowing your personal situation whatsoever. And if you do have some spare money and you're feeling like you need some extra help and you need permission from someone to get a cleaner once a month just to come and deep clean your house or to order some meals in to help kind of ease the workload or I don't know, to pay for some daycare for your kid or something, then you have the permission from me. You won't miss the money after you've spent it. It will help reduce stress. You will get some more hours sleep, perhaps, and it will set you up, hopefully, for an easier tomorrow. Bit of a segue. Any other thoughts, Alex, before we close this?
no, I think we've covered. I think we've covered all the bases on it, and I think really a pertinent point at the end there. If you know, seek out help if you're in that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you need it, and there's no point having money if you can't use it as a tool. And if at some point you need to spend money on meal delivery or a monthly, a weekly cleaner, whatever, to make your life a bit easier short term, please do it. There's no point in having a few extra £1,000 at 60 when you're totally sleep deprived now. Like use some of that leverage you've built, use some of the smart decisions that you've been making if you're on this path kind of with us learning as we go. Use some of the money to make your life easier because right now it could be, I don't know, it could be 4 a.m. when you're listening to this with a sleep deprived child. It's difficult. So I formally give you permission to spend some of your money to make your life a little bit easier.
I think that's a lovely sentiment.
Yeah, no idea where that came from. It just kind of pops into my head at the end, really. Okay, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. None of what we discuss on the show is to be considered financial or health advice, and we recommend you always do your own research or consult an independent financial advisor or a doctor when making your financial or health decisions.